We're here with Ernie Hudson of Ghostbusters, Oz, The Crow, Congo, Stargate. I mean, you've been in numerous film and television projects over your time. I'm going to start with one that's sort of an obscure favorite of us. We like our killer monkey movies. What was it like working on Congo? I mean, it's a Michael Crichton script. Were you familiar with the project beforehand, or how did you get involved with that?
Well, you know, when I first got the audition for Congo, or the meeting for Congo, I read the book, you know, and I loved the book, and I thought the book was really well done. So, you know, Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy brought me in. We talked about it, and it was something I really wanted to do. And I loved the character that was written in the book, and even though I think he was Irish and Indian parents, but I love the fact that I got a chance to play the guy and you know, do the accent and just have fun with it. So it was a lot of fun.
I mean, you've had a history of doing really unique and interesting projects in a very diverse career. One of my favorite TV shows was Oz, in the sense that it was very creative, it pushed boundaries, an incredible cast who've gone on to do amazing things. What was it like working on a show that was pushing boundaries so early? I mean, you know, today on HBO and Showtime, all that stuff, it's very much following the road that Oz paved. In a sense, you guys really pushed it out there. Yeah,
it was nice being a part of it, and I really felt, especially the cast, I think were really some really creative work and some courageous work. And a lot of guys went places and did things that I really would have a hard time doing, but it was great to be a part of it. And but I think when we were first, and we didn't get the accolades, we didn't get the Emmy nominations and the recognition from the industry, but I think by the time we finished and Sopranos came along, then it became more acceptable. We sort of, so we were, I think, maybe a little early, but I think the work stands up, and I still really feel good about being part of it.
Yeah, I mean, the work is great, but it's, you talk about the Sopranos, The Wire, any number of shows, almost feel like they're definitely taking the coattails of what you guys did with that show. The also thing that was interesting about Oz is it's not sort of one character-driven sort of storyline.
Right.
It's I guess The Wire's same sort of mold, in that it took all these different character stories and interweaved them together. What is it like working on a project that is so ensemble-based? I mean, it's really not like one person is expected to carry the whole project.
Right. Yeah. No, and that's good. I think it's good. You get a chance to work with a lot of people. The stories go in a lot of places. Yeah, no, I mean, I love working on it. So, you know, I just, you know, everything's a little bit different, but it was very special, very unique, and dealing with a very hard subject matter that I don't think was ever addressed, honestly, in the media. You know, prisons, and you know, we're all kind of impacted. You know, relatives, friends, somebody we know. You know, I think up until then, people just quietly didn't talk about. You know, a relative went to prison, you just go, well, they're just away. But I think Oz sort of really took it head on, and so it was cool.
How did it compare to work on TV? I mean, granted, it's HBO TV versus like traditional mainstream TV, so there was much more flexibility what you're able to do. But was it a different sort of process for you in working on it versus a film?
Yeah, you know, because I was the warden of the prison, so I always felt that I had to at least feel in control. And of course, I was dealing with a lot of guys. Some of the extras were, you know, I mean, had served time, and but all of the actors were really trying to sort of make their moment, which means they kind of came to, you know, make the scene about them. And so it became very important for me to hold my own in the midst of all that. You know, sometimes in the middle of a show, I'll just go, you know what, just run with that and fine. But as a warden, I couldn't allow that to happen. So it meant being a little bit more on guard and on point. And the scenes were always very intense, because there was always somebody fighting for one-upmanship, you know what I mean? And so they're talking to the warden. And and a lot of the guys were friends, but I noticed when I would come in and put my suit on and shine my shoes, which is kind of my ritual of getting into character, and when I'd step out on the set, the friendship stuff, it was like I was Warden Glenn. And and I got that.
Yeah.
People kind of kept a little distance, you know. It would invite everybody to lunch, but somehow I wasn't invited, you know. It was just always that, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate the, you know, the respect that that I got. It was great to be a part of it.
In the film world, you have been in a couple times in like these great crossroads where everything sort of seems to come together at the perfect time. I'm going to start with the sort of lesser known one, I guess, if you can call it lesser known, but The Crow. The Crow was one of those things that the stars seemed to align in sort of a perfect order, you know, with Alex Proyas as the director, giving it a perfect visual style, Brandon Lee inhabiting that character. I mean, you were the sort of the perfect friend to Brandon Lee in that movie. How was it like on the set? Could you tell that you were working on something really special when it was coming together?
Well, you know, the set was very dark, and we were shooting it all night in Wilmington, North Carolina, and you know, Wilmington in the winter, it gets very cold and it's very uncomfortable, but you know, you're sort of overcoming the conditions, and everybody was really there. It's hard to say where the film's going, because you make the movie you intend to make, and then the movie you actually make, and then the movie that is shown, which is different than the movie you made, because by the time the editors and all that, I think Alex did a great job of pulling the movie together. So, so yeah, no, it was, but you know, but you never know what it's going to be until you see it. And I became a fan of the movie when I saw the movie. When you're in the middle of it, you're just sort of doing it. And I like Brandon. I knew Brandon for a while before we started shooting the movie, and I always had a lot of respect and love for him. So,
is it tough to look back on that time with sort of like happiness? I mean, it was a great project, but ultimately it sort of got this sad chapter to it. Like, can you really go back and watch it without thinking about all that, or is it just too much to think about?
Well, I've always been able to separate what I do and the movie. I mean, I can watch a movie and people say, "Oh, it's hard to watch because you see all the technical stuff." I don't see the technical stuff. I mean, I'm a total viewer. I mean, I'm a fan. So I look at the movies, and I mean, sometimes I'll see a scene, I remember what happened on the set, but generally speaking, if the story's good, I can get into the story. So I really appreciate that the movie turned out to be a good movie, especially after the price that Brandon paid. And I'm glad that, I mean, it would have been worse to pay that price on a crappy movie that, you know, in your performance, you know, I think whatever he was trying to establish as an actor, you get in that movie. You get that had he lived, he would have been a big star, I think.
What do you think about the proposed remake, I guess, that's in the works? I mean, I personally don't see it as a project that should be remade. There's nothing they could do to make it a better movie, but like, is that just Hollywood? How do you feel about that?
Well, no, Hollywood does it. I mean, it's not. I don't think they're even trying to make a better movie. They're just trying to capitalize on franchise that's known, and they can make some money. I mean, that's what I think. So they made a couple others. A Crow, I never saw them.
At least 3,
I think they made a television show. So I'm not surprised they're going to milk the franchise. Me personally, I was done with the movie after what happened to Brandon. I couldn't. They called me about one of the projects, but I can't. I can't imagine doing it. You know. So
the biggest. I mean, I don't want to say what's the best part of your career, but for me, Ghostbusters was one of those films that I've grown up with loving. It was an amazing project. It came together also with all the stars aligning. What was it like working on a film like Ghostbusters? Could you? I mean, it had an incredible cast with all of you in it. Did you know that this was just a great property? This is going to be a huge success.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody ever knows. But I knew that working with the guys, and they are very talented, that it would be something, and that it, you know, whether the public would embrace it, whether it becomes big box office, but I knew it was we were having a lot of fun, and so I knew that it would work on that level. So
how did you get involved with it?
I auditioned and
just beat everyone else out
and fought for the role, and eventually got the part. Yeah, I mean, ultimately that's what it comes down to. I'd worked with Ivan Reitman on another film a year before, and
that's good.
But you know, he felt I was wrong for Ghostbusters, so it took a while to get in, but ultimately you go in and you fight for the role.
What was it like revisiting Ghostbusters 5 years later? mean, you had the smash success. There's probably a lot of pressure on you to sort of make it another huge success. How did you approach the sequel? Did you feel pressure? Did you just go into it like any other movie?
Well, I'm sure oh, thank you. I'm sure the studio felt pressure. I mean, they wanted to make a lot of money, so the pressure, we may not make as much money, which they didn't make as much money, but me, what I do is I don't worry about that because it's nothing to do with me. I mean, I just do my job. So, but I think everybody wanted to be something. The fans have been waiting 5 years. Everybody wanted to do something that was worth the wait. So
was it a film you were happy with, the end product? I mean, there's so much pressure from the studios and stuff, I imagine, that everyone wanted their hands in that pot to make sure. I mean, I think the first one was the biggest hit of its year. Were you happy with how you guys took the second movie? I don't know. What are your thoughts of that second movie? Did it deserve sort of the, not backlash, but not?
Well, I didn't think it was as creative as the first movie. It was. If you liked the characters, it was fun, sort of going through, an adventure with them. But the first movie I thought was very creative, and it's hard to redo something like that. So, it wasn't embarrassing, but it wasn't, as, in my opinion, as good as the first one. So.
And now they've talked about Ghostbusters. You talk about the 5-year wait was a long one, but they've talked about Ghostbusters 3 for 20 years now, probably. What are your thoughts about Ghostbusters 3? Have you been approached to revisit that role in some capacity? And just what do you think they should do with it?
I don't really... it's something that's not a part of anything that I do. I mean, I'd love to be, in the movie if they get it together, but, my sort of take or opinion or whatever has no effect whatsoever. So, nobody's called me about doing it. If they do call me about doing it, if they have money, and I'll be happy to do it. But beyond that, there's nothing I mean,
they've talked about doing it sort of like with the old Ghostbusters introducing a new generation of Ghostbusters. Would you prefer to that kind of movie, or would you just prefer to do just a straight-up Ghostbusters sequel with the original cast?
Well, in an ideal world, I'd love to do just a straight-up Ghostbusters sequel, but hey, man, this is a different time. We're different guys than we were 25 years ago, and frankly, I don't really care. I just want to participate in getting paid. That's my, So, the line in the movie, there's a steady paycheck, and I want to get paid. And people say, well, you'd love to do it just for the fun of it. It's nice, it's nice to have fun, but I don't work for fun. I want to get paid. And if the money's right, I'll do it. And if the money's not right, then there'll be another Winston, I guess. So, But even whether I wanted to do it or didn't want to do it or thought this, it has no bearing on anything because I have no control.
Is there any website or anything people can keep up to date with the projects you're on? Do you have a website that you want to?
There's and I need to do some work on it, but it's Ernie-Hudson.com. And
do you have any other projects that we should be aware of coming out?
No, there's a movie I just finished with John Snyder called Doonby. We shot it in Texas. There's a show I do called Secret Life of the American Teenager.
Oh, yeah.
I play a psychiatrist on that. I was on Law and Order recurring last season. I just finished Beverly Hills Chihuahua too. I just work, man, and do a lot of motivational public speaking lately. I just stay busy.
Yeah, I figure it's hard to get away from you because every time I turn on my TV, I feel like I stumble across you in something.
Wow.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope the rest of your con is great.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time. All right, dude.